uh, and thanks to everybody who came aboard from Victoria Center and elsewhere. And now I just want to pass over to Chris for the end of our meeting.
Unmuted. I will get myself unmuted here. There we are. Thanks, Randy, and thank you, Jeff, as well, for organizing that and actually getting the mug there for presentation. We have a couple of items that I know about. We have a video that Dave supplied from Edmonton, and so that's Dave R, and Dave P had some photos he wanted to show. Does anybody else have anything for this evening?
There's an image I'd love to show comparing Neowise to Leonard. People haven't seen that. I'm going to look it up. Okay, and I see Lauri waved as well. So let's start with the see if I can get this working again. Try to play again and pause and start. Okay, and I think we're ready here, and I will share my screen, and maybe Dave, you can narrate for us.
Sure. This is Arnold Rivera again. He took a time-lapse video of Comet Leonard, and he's pushed it into a little video here that shows the movement over the comet over roughly a 2.5-hour period. So you can see this thing is moving pretty quick. He had to do a little jiggery pokery with the processing to keep the stars nice and get the Messier object looking pretty decent. But that's a pretty I'll
just run through that again.
Pretty good resolution for a 2.5-hour, basically 2.5-hour exposure sets of exposures. He had a little bit of cloud coming through too, so as you can see in some of them. So that was it from Edmonton.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So Dave Payne.
Sorry about that. I had to get all my video going again.
Yeah.
So I'm officially out of data now. I had just last 2 images of taken in October of a couple of clusters. Of course, this one is the Pleiades. I was able to pull a lot of the nebulosity out of the background, so I was really happy with this. And I guess because the stars are so bright, whenever I take pictures of Pleiades, they have these big halos around them. But I was happy with this result. And the other star cluster I wanted to show you is the Owl, NGC 457. Use your imagination a little bit and stand back. You can see an owl with the wings. It's a pretty young star cluster, mainly white stars in it. And the interesting thing is one of the eyes of the owl, this larger one, we don't really know whether it's actually part of the star cluster or not. If it is part of the same cluster as the rest of the owl, then it's something like 200,000 times the brightness of the sun. So that's one of the brightest stars that we can see. So a lot believe that it's actually a foreground star. So that's kind of interesting about that cluster. And then the final picture I had was just a reworking of the Cave Nebula. I thought I'd show because I recently released a script file that helps stretching images. So when we take astro photographs, we have to stretch them because everything is so dim. We have to brighten up all the pixels so we can actually see what we're looking at. And just wrote a script that's available for any processors out there using PixInsight that can enable you to pick out a lot more of the nebulosity behind. I can actually put it side by side so you can see. So this is a rework of the same data, but it's taken on a much more three-dimensional look to it. And see a lot of the background nebulosity. There's a lot of gases. There's a lot of dark nebula in here, circling around here, and a lot of even the blue up here is reflection nebula. So that's all I thought I'd share.
How do we get your script?
There is a link. I sent it around to the RASC. I can send it around again. There's a GitHub link to download it.
Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those.
Thanks.
Lauri, I believe you're up next.
Hi, so I just wanted to say thanks to Jeff for bringing Robert Thirsk. He's always so funny to say, but he's so down to earth. I mean, even when he's talking about out in space, but he's a really good communicator, as John McDonald mentioned. I just wanted to say that this coming Saturday, the 18th, we are having our last FDAO Star Party of the year, and we have two more speakers from the NRC that are going to be talking about their projects that are going to be on the James Webb Space Telescope. Dr. Madeline Marshall is actually from Tasmania and is here at the NRC working on a project. And then Wes Fraser, who I believe we've even had, at the RASC before, has spoken to us. And he's going to also be talking about more the near Earth objects. Madeline Marshall works on far away things. And Jeff is going to be talking about things more in our the trans-Neptunian objects that the James Webb Telescope is also going to be working at. So we would love to have everybody come in if you're interested in a couple of the projects that are happening on the James Webb. And of course, then on the 22nd is the supposed launch. And I'm going to take it back to Chris Gainor. Chris, have you heard anything else that we haven't, as kind of the general public, about anything going on with the James Webb?
Not a great deal, just that the launch preparations are continuing. I think a week ago they had just done the fueling of it, and then they had to move the vehicle or the telescope and spacecraft to the building where the rocket is, and that's where it's going on. Just a second here. They're just mounting it on the rocket right now. And the last bulletin they had was just verifying that one of the main instruments seemed to be ready for launch. Last night, there was actually a terrific little item on James Webb on 60 Minutes. And I think you could probably find it online on the CBS, their item about the Webb telescope. So I would highly recommend that. So we're about 8.5 days away from launch. 4:20 a.m. Pacific time on December 22nd. And what they've been doing during the processing is that they kind of do stuff, but they don't say too much until it's done. So I'm expecting to see something in a day or two about sort of the completion of the hooking it up to the Ariane rocket. And then, before you know it, we'll be into the countdown period. So,
Question for you,
anyway,
Chris. As a former robot guy, I was a little dismayed when they just about dropped this thing or whatever happened. How do they actually determine whether it's still okay to go to space after, something unexpected like that happens? Have you heard anything about that?
well, you remember that was one of the reasons they held up the launch. So they did go through it looking for any ill effects from this, and also the reasons for the cause for that. I don't think it was like it fell on the floor. I think it may have just been kind of gone down a certain distance before something else caught it. So
But you haven't heard anything more, any more details about that then?
no.
All they
What
said
I heard was that
an independent group of people, they did get an independent group to come in to reevaluate the systems. So that was all I heard, and that everything was okay. No.
what I had heard was that it wasn't a drop, it was that a clamp that was affixing it to the Ariane rocket had broken when they were tightening it, and it had shaken the telescope a bit.
That's right. And I'm sure they didn't really talk about that, but I'm sure they looked into that whole situation with that clamp, which I suspect was not flight hardware, but I suspect it was not the only clamp involved. And so I'm sure they checked into that when they held up the launch. So.
Mhm. And sorry, Chris, somebody was just asking me online about the calendars. We still don't have them. So I look out every day to see that they're on my doorstep, and I will let everybody know as soon as we've got them. But and there still are a few left, about 6 or 7 that have not been so if anybody still wants to have a calendar, we still have a couple available. So just email me and I'll put your name down on the list. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Randy.
Great. I'm going to start with some announcements, but that just makes me think. Joe, are you still online? And have all your calendars been spoken for?
No, if we have time, I can certainly showcase them if you want. They are online as well on our photo hosting website, rascvic.zenfolio.com. So you can have a look at the photographs. I just did a very short and quick run of calendars. So there are 4 left. If anyone wants to order a calendar, they can contact me directly at web@victoria.rasc.ca. There's my pitch.
Well, I looked at the pictures and I thought it's such a great portrait of what we're doing. And it inspires me. I'll be the host next week, the last of the year. And I would love people, especially the people who don't talk very often, to just give us some impression of what interested you most in 2021. Either something you did, something you read, or something you thought about. But I would really encourage people to talk short to not long about something that has delighted them about the sky in 2021. Okay, so that'll be next week. And I think we give extra points for the people who don't speak all the time. Just, what have you been up to in the Astro world in the last year? Because this is a great community and it's a very supportive community at all levels. And I think everybody wants to find out what you've been interested in for this last year. Okay. Next, I'm going to show this picture, which I just think is very beautiful, very clever. Dave Chapman posted it on the Facebook, and I'm not sure all the jiggery pokery that went into this, but here we have Neowise from last year and Leonard from last week. Were they actually in the same star field? Did he match the stars and those tufts of grass? I mean, there must be. I'm not really sure. And are they the same exposure? But definitely, you see the difference in size. You see the different tails, the different color. I think it's a fantastic picture. Does anybody want to say anything about it?
Yeah, Randy, it says it's a composite.
Oh yeah,
So
it's of course a composite. It's from two different dates, but are they the same star field? Like it did the
I'm
two?
trying to remember where it was. I don't recall now.
I mean, we were seeing it east to the northeast. That would work.
The tails are at the same angle too.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so we were seeing it. I don't know when we were.
It was in
Dave and I
August.
were out at like 4 in the morning
Season.
at Turkey Point, and so it was kind of low and in the northeast, wasn't it, Dave? Maybe Dave's not there anymore. Anyway, it's fascinating seeing the difference, and you can see also why it's so much harder to find Leonard than the very naked eye Neowise last year.
I don't think it would be the same field. Because I know
Yeah, I
the
don't
deep
think
sky
so.
objects that Neowise went by, it went past like M52, was it? And it went
Yep.
past M63, and because I sketched it with those objects, it never went close to M3.
Awesome.
Bill, do you remember the dates? Was it August? I'm trying to.
I
Trying to
watched it
remember
for
now.
about a month. I'd have to
Yeah.
look on Zen. On my
I think it's probably
images.
July or August. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was more to the northwest than this one was, wasn't it?
I don't
Okay,
think they're
I'm just
clever
finding
like that.
my
think-
sketches.
I just found it. Oh, interesting.
So from
Um,
mid-July, and my last sketch of it was September 9th.
So this is
September
this is
8th.
interesting. On August 18th, it's kind of underneath Arcturus, actually, in the west.
It was in the west in the evening, exactly.
It was in the west. Yep. In the evening, mind you.
Right.
And Leonard is in the morning, at least it has been. So it would be pretty
Well,
hard.
Neowise was in the morning as well. It shifted over.
Well, they all do, yeah.
It
You
was
guys
with
are
us for-
awesome.
It
I
was
just
with us
love,
for quite a while. So he may have actually gone to the same spot to shoot the same sky.
I just delight in the knowledge base that this community has. Okay, last announcement. As Reg has been advertising, he's in charge of getting people to put their names forward for our upcoming executive. We know we have vacancies for first vice president and secretary. Consider it. I started in the club just about 3 years ago, thinking this was a nice group just to let other people do the work. And then guess what? If you don't volunteer, then it doesn't keep going. So consider it. It's a great group. It's not a lot of work in this organization because, well, we don't have to fundraise. That's a great thing. So basically, we just do stuff. And so just consider it, but it is a way to keep things like this wonderful evening going. So secretary, vice president are the big ones. And if anybody puts the name forward for something else, I bet there could be an election. Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, thank you, Randy.
Chris,
And-
I just wanted to mention, Jim is not on the broadcast anymore, but I think normally we would have a makers group this Thursday. So just check for a notice. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on. So that's this coming Thursday.
16th, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes. Yeah, does anybody else have anything for this evening?
And thanks, Chris, for running this all year.
Oh, thank you. It's been fun. I mean, it's some work involved, but it's not terrible. So if somebody else wants to join me, that would be great. Because I know I'll have to miss some going, in the coming months. So that would be great to have some other people on board. And I'm sure Joe would probably appreciate having somebody also on board to be able to do the videoing part of it as well.
Always helps to have a backup person or someone who's interested in learning how it all goes together.
And
A quick note, I just found the Rutger Bus composite image on Instagram and put the link in the chat. He does have some narrative with the image. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought people might be interested in that link.
No, that's great, Janine, but I linked to it and I don't see it. Do you want to share your screen so we can see what you're seeing? You're muted there, Janine.
Actually, I could share it if need be.
if you find it.
I've got the Instagram one. Unless,
It'd be good to see
unless
his
Janine-
text that goes along with it.
Yeah, I've got
Go
the
ahead,
text.
David. Go ahead,
Okay.
David.
No. Oh, there we go. Says,
He never says if they were taken at the same field.
yeah, he doesn't.
Darn.
Oh, I'm sure we can figure it out.
Wouldn't Stellarium be able to show?
Yeah. I just have to know the dates. If there are any dates, we could figure it out.
Or Diane would just look at the stars and tell us where it is.
Not that good.
Oh, yeah, I don't see any dates in there. Huh?
No.
So we have to
If-
probably trace out where.
If there
View
was
icon.
if there was a file we could download and it still had the metadata in it, we might be able to grab it from that. But I think being a composite, it probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
It is neat to see them compared, I guess, with otherwise similar conditions taken, though. That's quite.
Mhm.
It explains why the Leonard is proving elusive.
Does Leonard have a second tail? Just can't see it well.
It's hard to say. Most of the ones that I've seen, they're supposed to have two, right? There's always this jet here, right? But it may not be that obvious. It's dimmer for sure.
Yeah, I think I saw somebody thought they had seen one, but it's very faint if it is there.
Yeah, with most of these comets, the second or the ion tail is very faint. It's not bright at all because it's not got much dust to reflect sunlight.
Yeah, this is the good stuff. This is where
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ice
but-
and dirt is.
Yeah, that's the dust tail, but the ion tail, which goes off at an angle, is typically quite a bit fainter. I think the only comet that I've seen where the ion tail was fairly bright was the famous one.
Oh, Hyakutake?
No,
Oh, different.
Hale-Bopp.
Hale-Bopp.
Oh,
The
right,
ion
right, of
on
course.
that one was that ion tail was on that one was so bright you could see it naked eye.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'm mistaken though. Isn't it after it has passed the sun
No,
that the trajectory of the tails can be different?
well, they are different because the mass of the ions is much lower. And if you have a slightly curving path of the comet as it either approaches or goes away, the dust tail will diverge from the ion tail just because the dust particles don't disperse as rapidly.
Well, and the dust tail is always pointing away from the sun.
Well, the ion tail actually points directly away with the solar wind because it's much lighter.
Yeah, so the sun would be here, right?
Yeah.
Pushing out.
And you can see that the dust tail is actually curved because the dust remains where it was as the nucleus moves in a curved line.
That's correct.
Can somebody tell us about visibility when it comes up on the other side of the sun? I know it's going to be near Venus, so we'll be able to locate it easily enough. But is it going to be much dimmer? What's the projection?
Well, I think it was supposed to be brightest on the 12th, so we're past that.
It has to survive.
Also,
and
it has to survive.
Does the orbit not go south of the ecliptic after it goes past the sun?
I think so. I'd set it to the south.
We might
I think on the 18th or so, it's supposed to come back into our evening, but very close to the horizon, just below Venus.
Yeah, it'll be close to the ecliptic or slightly below, and that we may not see it much.
Bill, what does the Skyhound site say?
I think he says it's not possible. I sort of looked. I can't remember.
I think it descends.
If you have a good line of sight. If you have a good line of sight, that'll be what will matter.
Yeah.
So maybe Mount Doug. Or somewhere high. Maybe even the observatory up on Little Saanich Mountain Observatory.
It's a good question, Randy. I guess I'll do a little hunting to see if we can see it.
Well, we meet again on the 20th, and so it might be over by then.
Oh, one of the many mountain parks in Victoria. All right.
Great. Well, I think that's it for this evening. So thank you, everyone. And thank you to the group who did a bit of work there to make sure this all happened this evening. So it was Joe, Lauri, and David Lee joined me being behind the scenes, admitting you and that sort of stuff. And I think it went very well tonight. Unfortunately, it looks like they didn't get the announcement in the weekly newsletter. So I guess we didn't get too many people from elsewhere, but I think it was a great talk, and it was unfortunately their loss not being able to attend it because as so many people said, and I would agree that I didn't know any of this stuff really in terms of what's already in the works, and that was a really good opportunity.
Just as Robert was starting his talk, I did publicize it on Victoria Center's Facebook page and the national Facebook.
Yeah.
It looked like we got about half a dozen more people at that
point.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was a well-attended cafe, but
we went over 40, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
But not as many as we may have expected otherwise.
44, actually.
Yeah. We got up to 44. So
Thank you, Chris, for all the work you've done. You've been a very good moderator leader throughout the year. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So anyways, we'll be back next week for the last one for 2021, and then we'll be back. We'll take a couple of weeks break, and we'll be back on, I think I worked out it's January the 10th. So anyways, we'll hopefully see everybody again next week, but just in case, all the best of the season to everybody, and yeah, stay safe, because our numbers aren't looking too good on the island at the moment. So let's hope we can keep things in check.
Oh, good night.
See you next week.
Thank you.